Alrighty, it appears winter's come a little early this year. Not too much, but we got a nice warm fall anyways, for the most part, but now temperatures are 10 to 15 degrees below average, and last couple days we had a few inches of snow, so I'm thinking I should try and get old Swamp Thing tractor going here. The tractor that kind of started this channel. I haven't really run this tractor really for the last two to 3 years much, barely at all. I used to use this strictly for plowing the driveway. I did have it running late spring, I think it was. And oh great. Oh, that's awesome. I had a little parts container there full of snow. Had it covered up and it still gets snow in it. The problem happened, I did drive it down the driveway and back one time, and I think the issue was, what the problem was, that gas was leaking into the crankcase. So the needle valve must have been staying open. I think why I came to that conclusion was because it sounded like boiling within the engine. So it must have been the oil mixed with the gas in the crankcase was actually at a boiling temp. So this has been an amazing engine on this thing. It's just a 12.5 horse Briggs & Stratton industrial commercial, but it has been through the ringer. So we got one parts container here. Iced in, that's just splendid. Alright, I got all my parts iced, ice-free now. I don't know how this is going to go together. I have these needle valves. I got a kit. I bought this kit last year. You got that little piece of wire that holds it. I don't think you use that on these normal bigger floats. I think they just sit in that notch right there. Like that, I do believe. And I think they hold themselves in place. Here is why the tractor would actually not start last year. I had this gas valve on it. The gas valve went bad. It actually was not opening up when I would turn it on. I've never seen that before. So that's a new one. They took the line off the carburetor and there was no gas coming out. Interesting. One thing to note on these needle valves, on these small engines, some have that rubber right on the tip. I believe they call it Viton tipped. And some do not have it. I believe both of these needle valves came in the same kit. And that would be the seat. Very small piece of rubber that you have to push into the carburetor with very small drill bit. I think the problem why the carburetor was pouring gas in, flooding itself basically, to the point that gas went into the crankcase, is because I was using one of these Viton tipped with a seat. And from what I've read, when you use that rubber seat, you don't use the Viton tipped needle valve. You use that, just a standard one, I guess. I want to say that one's made out of aluminum too. It feels a little bit lighter. So that's kind of weird. I wonder why that one's made out of aluminum. And then this one's steel. We'll find out. I'm going to try and take that seat out of the carburetor out in the tractor outside. Alright, I got a mirror set up so I can see if that little needle valve seat is in the carburetor. See if I can catch it on camera. Really the only way to look at it, unless you take the carb off, and that's a little bit of work, more time. And what I'm finding out here is, it looks to me like there is no needle valve seat. I'm going to poke and prod it a little bit with my tool here, just to make sure. My little dental pick. If you don't have any of these things, pick up a little set. I got them pretty cheap at Menards. I think I'm just going to put the Viton tip back in it. I don't know why that would have caused gas to stay open. Pretty sure that's the right size needle valves. I did a test fit with the needle valve without the seal, and it was actually not closing. It was, the float was going all the way up and hitting, so that's why it was letting excess fuel in to the point that it was going into the crankcase and the oil. Alright, I am now to the point of reinstalling the bowl onto the carburetor on the tractor. Through the years, I've come across this problem so many times. The gasket, such a small, tiny, thin gasket, and they're expensive. Even online, they're $5, $10 a piece. So over the years, I have bought these gaskets online. These ones are way too thick, obviously, and I think they were way too small. But these ones you can get really cheap, because Chinese made. You know, they're not the right size for the bowl either, and too thick. 2 different times I've bought them. These are nice and about the right size, thin, and they're still just a little too small. And you can stretch them and stretch them. It's amazing how strong they are, but they stretch back to the same size. Like, you can't stretch them out. I don't. It's some crazy rubber. But you can buy like 10 of these cheaper than the price of one of the actual Briggs & Stratton gaskets. This I found in my parts. That might actually work. It's pretty darn close. I found that after the fact that I decided to do the gasket maker. I've never tried this before. It's looking promising. I think it's gonna work. I mean, that stuff is, I think it's about $5 or $6, and I've used it for other projects, and it's still basically full. So that's cheaper than a Briggs & Stratton rubber seal, and that is the oil resistance one, so hopefully it's resistant to gas too. Time will tell. Should be interesting. We'll get her put together, and hopefully she starts up. It's only about 15 degrees out today, so it's going to be one heck of a cold start video.